Hi guys, welcome back.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yellow.
Before we get started on this week's episode, we just want to remind you guys that is it 2 weeks? I think
December
it's 2
3rd.
weeks, December 3rd, we will be starting our first ever book study. And I have the book right here for the video people. It's Life is Messy by Matthew Kelly. And we will be doing probably, I think we said the first 13 sections of the book on December 3rd. So if you want to get the book and read along with us, you can get it on Amazon. If you just want to listen to the episodes, that's fine too. You don't have to read the book to listen and be a part of it.
Anyway, bringing up the topic, I was thinking of stepping out of line or going against the current, and I wanted to bring that up because I feel like so constantly today, and just in book definition even, just in dictionary terms, stepping out of line means, like, from what I've looked up, doing something inappropriate. Like, you stepped out of line, you're getting fired. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like, what does stepping out of line mean when you're stepping out of line of society, of the world, and going with faith?
Wow. How interesting.
That's a good beginning, huh?
Yeah, I feel like it's bold.
Yeah, I feel like it's so fitting for maybe all of us in our own lives, within our own families, our own friend group, or the workforce, or whatever it may be. Just the group of people don't always agree or believe what you believe. Is that kind of what you were leaning towards, or?
Yeah, I was leaning towards just generally stepping out of line in good ways. So it's almost like stepping out of line for maybe even just another person. When another person is too afraid to, for example, go up for a project and no one's volunteering, you volunteer to go. Be the first one to step out of the comfort zone, because once people see that it's able to be done, more people will get encouraged to have it done.
Oh, I really like that. I like the transition of stepping out of your comfort zone. And I think sometimes it's like a willingness to step out of your comfort zone with like making your own decision and being you without forcing your way of living or your perspective on another person, but yet standing true to who it is that you want to be, which I think is hard. I mean, I feel like in every area of life, sometimes if everyone else agrees with something, it's hard to just say, yeah, that's just not for me, even if it's not offensive in any way. It's just hard to, it's hard to say, well, I like skinny jeans instead of whatever, it's like something small like that, I feel like it's just a challenge.
Yeah, this is going to sound so silly, but I did a defensive driving course, a virtual one, last night and the night before, and it was 3 hours on Zoom, and after a long day of work, it was a lot. And the instructor was asking questions. There's, I don't know, maybe like 15 of us. I want to say 15 like students in the class. And I didn't say a word. Like, anytime he asked a question, I was like, I'm not answering the question. Even if I knew the answer, I was like, I'm not going to be the one to speak. And, there was like a couple of people who are the ones that were the leaders, the ones that were answering the questions. And I was like, thank God for them, because I didn't want to be that person.
The thing is, I feel like sometimes it's hard to, take the initiative to step out and be the one to answer the questions, because in doing that, taking the risk to... Sorry, Sunny just ran up the stairs the first time.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, James.
Back to topic of, instead of running upstairs, what I was thinking of, when you raise your hand to answer a question, there's always a risk. And that risk is, if you get it wrong, you might get ridiculed. You might get made fun of. You might get this and that. But in raising your hand, it's also, I want to say that it's also protecting the other people who are too afraid to. So it's almost like, I don't want to say it's like a sacrifice in itself, but I feel like almost every decision we make is a sacrifice. Every decision we make is a risk. And I feel like stepping out of line and choosing what you know is right morally, what you know is right to you, what you know is true, if you step out and choose that, I feel like it just shows how firm you are standing on the rock instead of the sand.
Wow.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm agree with all that, and I love this topic because I think that since I just said yes to Jesus, I've been like fighting with this topic, even more now that I'm here in Spain. And it came to my mind like when I, for example, when I decided to move to United States, everyone was like, oh, you are crazy, what are you doing? You are like listening to a voice that you think that is real, but you don't know, you know. So they were like trying to control my decisions because it was something like different, and it was something that it came from like myself, and it was like getting outside my comfort zone and all that. And they were like trying to protect me so much that they don't allow to like just go against everything and just follow your beliefs and what you feel. And then it was the opposite. When I just decided to come back home earlier because I felt God wanted that way, they were the opposite. They were like, no, you have to stay in United States. What are you going to do, you know? And I was like, why are you like, they were like, why you need to like always like, you know, like cut and just take another path suddenly and abruptly. And they were like, and then when I was in Spain, everyone was trying to control how I had to live my faith, how I like how I will consider God. Okay, you can go to church, but don't go too much because then maybe you want to be a nun, and maybe, you know. And I was like going against all those things, and all my friends, not against them, but against what they thought that it was normal or acceptable. Because like, what is normal and acceptable, you know what I mean? And I do think that all my life I tried to so hard to fit on a group to be accepted, because I was not accepting myself, that I felt like if I was not following what they thought it was correct, or I thought it was correct, I will be the black sheep, you know. So I was like controlling all my thoughts, all my beliefs, just to try to fit in and to try to follow like a normal society, you know what I mean? And the difference for me now is that I still fighting against all this, because now it's better. But when I arrived here, you can imagine, guys, like, yeah, I'm Catholic now, and I go to a church, and I'm 25, and I love God, and I love talking to my priest, and I love to be doing prayer groups with all people. And all my friends were like, you are weird, or what are you doing, or, you know, where are you now? And I'm like, maybe then I love being weird, you know, because maybe then when you accept that, it's like you start becoming yourself, and you are like more free for me, you know. And now I used to hate the word weird, and now I love it, because maybe being weird is where you can find yourself, because you allow yourself to just show up and be real. And sometimes the light that you have is when it starts like shining, you know, because you are not like trying to fit yourself on a box or in a group or in what is considered correct, you know, and you are just being yourself and doing whatever you want. And actually in The Chosen, our theme is saying that we go against the current, you know. Our fishes, our branding is not, the fishes don't fish on the correct side, they go on the other side. And this is what we think, that even Jesus didn't follow the things that they thought it was correct, you know. He followed his heart, and he followed God. So
I love that, because it makes me think of like even like running a prayer meeting. Like, okay, the prayer meeting is supposed to be this. This is how we're supposed to pray. This is how, you know, going to church, you're supposed to do this. And there are definitely rules and stuff for like a regular mass. But I think even when you experience your new faith, you think like, okay, let me look at the list of rules. Let me look at what I'm supposed to do, and let me follow those rules so that I'm safe, so that I'm in my comfort zone, so that I'm doing it right. And for the longest time, Marissa and I would be like talking, and we're like, I don't really know what our prayer group is. Like, it's supposed to be charismatic, but it's really not. And it's supposed to be this, but it's not that. And we were like, well, what are we? And we're like, we don't know what we are. We're just a group of people who get together, who look to build each other up, and just search for like truth. And yeah, we're Catholic and we believe, you know, but we're also whatever we are in the moment. But it's so tempting to put yourself in a box. It's so tempting to want to just be whatever the crowd is telling you you're supposed to be in like every way. It's like our natural instinct, I think, is to want to just be like, oh, okay, that's how you're supposed to do it, and just follow. That's what I see.
I just want to say, adding on to that the the normal, it's almost a change of perspective, which the world constantly looks at. It's like, one day, skinny jeans can be normal. The next day, I don't know, sweatpants are normal. The next day, wearing a top hat is normal. You really never know. Top hat, for example.
You don't. I mean, boys are getting perms. Let's be real.
And they used to back in the day, Uncle Tommy.
So, getting back to my point, I wanted to say that there really is no true definition of normal. Mm-hmm. What there is, though, you really never know how to learn to live until you die yourself. I read that in a book. Until until you start to die is when you truly start to live. But I want to say that is partially correct, but I want to say more so is when you let the fake self die. Because when you let the fake self die and you let the true self live, you're not just limiting yourself anymore. Now it's completely shining. I mean, I want to say part of it is almost like the fake self, the partial self, the whatever it is, the persona you have. Sometimes it's almost like a half-dead battery, a quarter-dead battery, a dead battery, versus the true self who is a full battery. And I feel like sometimes we do tend to lose parts of our true selves during the week because that's how we are sometimes. We're human. We struggle. We don't know what to do sometimes. But when we spend time with God, when we spend time with the Father, when we spend time with Jesus, when we get filled with the Holy Spirit, our battery is raised again and we become our true selves again. And it's through the joy of the Lord, which is our strength, that we may become that powerful again.
Yeah, I would say that when you get closer to God, like it gives you the confidence on yourself to like be brave enough to just step in and stop following the crowd. Because before God, for example, I didn't even know who I was. I thought I knew, but I didn't, because I was just made of pieces of everyone and every thought of other people and, lies that I heard. And I was not myself. I was just like this puzzle of like full of different pieces that were not mine, were like lies from the other, experiences, traumas, and, like self-condemnations. It's now that I'm starting to like being a full puzzle and the pieces are mine and are the ones that God has put in me, so that gives me the enough like power and like confidence of like stepping and saying, no, I don't like this, or no, I don't think that, and no, I have my own path, and you are brave enough to just follow your path with like trusting. But I couldn't do it before God, I couldn't do it. And even if I tried, and I love it what you said, because about, for example, now that I'm working on social media and I'm like, for the first time, I'm leading a new project. Okay, so I tried to be like everyone. Mm-hmm. I was looking to the other ones that were doing the same job as me, and I was trying to copy them. And it was not working. And my boss called me and told me, you know what, I choose you for this job? And I was like, no, I don't know. And he said, that's a problem. You are trying to do what the people is doing, and I don't want that, because if not, I'm going to call them. I want something different. I want the thing that you have to offer, and you are the only one who can offer that. And when you don't think is when you love, and when you are silly, or it's when you get emotional, and I want all those pieces from you in these videos. I don't want to see the world in the video, I want to see you. And I was like, wow, maybe it's all about this, maybe it's just like being yourself. And because if you try to like follow the world, it's like you don't shine, you cannot, you are hidden. So sometimes if you just take your own path, respecting everyone at the same time, it's when you are seen.
I have so many thoughts. I don't know where to start.
I know.
when you were originally talking before and you were saying like how people were judging you, whether you're here in Spain, what you're doing, I'm going to go to a prayer meeting with a bunch of 80-year-olds and I'm going to have the time of my life on a Friday, on a Thursday, whenever. And it's like, just stop putting me in a box. Like, I don't belong in a box. I can do this and this and this and still make up the authentic self of who Yvette is, who I am, who Janine is, who James is. None of us are replicas of each other, and we're not supposed to be. And when you were talking about all the puzzle pieces being made up of like who you used to be, it's like, take off your mask. It's like we have these, like, I had a visual of just this like white masquerade mask, and the whole mask was made up of like color from this person, color from this person. And I think it's something to say that there's nothing wrong with trends. There's nothing wrong with me looking to somebody and being like, God, I love her outfit. She looks amazing. I want to wear something like that. There's nothing wrong with looking to somebody and being influenced by them. Wow, this one prays for 15 minutes a day and I don't. So maybe I'll try. Like, I think there's nothing wrong with looking towards trends and following and being positively influenced by it. But it's when we try to make these exact replicas of people, of who we are, of what we create. And Abiding Together just did a fantastic episode this week on creativity and the beauty and the power in it. And it just got me thinking, like, how much we actually do create in one day, and how much, like, you really can't ever replicate anything that you do. It's almost impossible. Like, to the point of when I edit the episodes, if it's a creation, I'm never going to edit it exactly the same way as if I did it over. We're never going to have an exact conversation that we're having right now. And I don't know, just like open this conversation, and that podcast just opened my eyes to the world that is of creation. It was like, I know, James, you talk about that so often, like the creator and the creation, but it's also what we do. It's also how we live in everything that we do.
I want to say, I was thinking of an analogy, and I want to say it's almost like we are kind of, I'm going to use a soda bottle or a soda thing from like 7-Eleven as an example. You know, those little big gulps that you fill up. And I was thinking, like, what happens when you put all of the different sodas into one cup? It's, from what I've heard, it's bad. It doesn't exactly taste good. You can't really tell what flavor it is. You can't tell what it is because it doesn't know what it is. Just like we don't. So we try to put ourselves in boxes constantly. We sit in this box of the popular group, and then it's a distinct box in that group, and then it's changing to this group, then it's changing to that one. No, that's not who you are. That's not who you're supposed to be. Well, I mean, who am I to tell you who you can be and who you can't be? I'm just recommending what's great for me. And that is choosing God. Because my true self is found in God, because God is the creator. He knows what is going to be best for me. He knows what group I belong in, and that group that I belong in is his kingdom. So when it's like that, it's almost like it's the difference between a simple Sprite and all the sodas combined.
And I think what makes us want to sometimes be all of the sodas combined is fear. I think it's the fear of being looked at like, oh, you're making a choice that doesn't look like the choice that we're making. I think it's like the fear of not being accepted, the fear of not being wanted, the fear of being looked at like as different. I mean, listening to you talk about going to a prayer meeting, you know, with all of those old people, that was me when I was in my 20s also. I was like 26 when I got invited to a prayer meeting, and I will never forget, I was student teaching, and I'll never forget like the thought that I might go. And I remember my cooperating teacher was like, oh, what are you going to be doing tonight? And I was going to say, I might be going to a prayer meeting. And I remember her looking at me and being like, what? And I was like, yeah. I don't know if I really am going to go, but I might. And I just remember like how nervous I was, like if she was going to ask me again, because if I was going to go, I was like almost embarrassed to say that's how I'm spending my Friday night. Like I had never spent a Friday night like that before. It was the first time I ever was going to do it. But she was a peer of mine. She was like around my age, and I actually happened to know her my whole life. And it was just it took me so out of my comfort zone. First of all, I was out of my comfort zone to go to a prayer meeting on a Friday night to begin with. And then to be asked, and like our prayer meeting here in New York we're a younger prayer meeting. We're not like the old people. But when I went, I was like by far the youngest person in that group. Yeah. So it was a totally different feeling than going to the one that we run now. But I do remember feeling so like insecure and like scared of how people were going to, especially just like this one girl, and she was hyper interested. Every single week she would be like, are you going to that prayer meeting again? And I was like, I don't know, because I was also scared just because I was insecure.
Cool.
I think it's still to this day. Yeah. You know, if people, you know, like Janine said, like our prayer group is very diverse in age and people, and it's different, but it's still like a stranger. What are you looking forward to this weekend? And it's like, I would love to say that I'm fully confident in being like my prayer meeting tonight, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I'm like, what are they going to think of me?
It's none of their business.
And I think that's something that's interesting is like, when we were, you know, just really talking about the prayer group, when we were like, who are we? What are we? Are we this? Are we that? Are we, you know, it's almost like sometimes people have to say, you're like, we get so afraid of being judged sometimes. And when you were just talking about the fear, it made me think of like, if you tell somebody let's say I'm like going to a prayer meeting and you're like, but I'm not a Jesus freak, like, or I'm not this Bible holding, rosary clutching, like you almost, like, do you ever feel like you have to say like, but I'm not this, don't put me in that box? You know what I mean? It's like, we don't want to be in this box, but then if we say what we are, it's like, but I'm not that. I'm not that. Don't think I'm that. And it's like, we have to like go through this battle of just the fear of who is going to judge us and what are they going to think? And at the end of the day, what does it really matter? You know?
This is so interesting. Sorry.
You could go.
Go ahead with that.
I have so many thoughts in that because a lot of thoughts were coming to me. And in like, for example, when I was here in Spain, I lived a lot these things. And I suffered. Like, you suffer a lot because it's like, people really like judges you. And when I arrived here, I knew that everyone was waiting for like to see me, to ask like questions and make jokes and all that. And I had this moment of deciding like, okay, am I going to like follow them and just like hide those parts of me that I just discovered them in United States just to fit in my group again, or just to fit even in my own family, you know? Because even my own family, there was a period of time that I was like feeling that being myself was like be willing to be seen as a weird thing, because they were like seeing me with love, but also like I changed it and I was weird now, you know. And even like with my friends, I was seeing this judgment that they were having on me. They were having on me like, oh, but Yvette now, like, she's Catholic and she goes to the mass and like that's weird, and that's, you know, I had to confront all those thoughts and I have to accept them. And I was willing to, you know, because I prefer to don't follow the crowd and, you know, and accept that the thoughts of the others will be there and the judgment. But I was happy and I was in peace because I was just rooted on God and confident of who I was. And in the time, they got, instead of like judging and making love, they were interested. They were attracted. Because I think that the word that comes to me, it's authenticity. I think that when you are not worried about following the others, you are just authentic. And that thing attracts people. Just because they want it. Because this word is really fake, and this word is full of lies and full of like a lot of things that when something is authentic and something is pure and real, people want it. Even you want it. That's why we want God, because we find all those things in Him, and we are not used to, because it's really hard to find those things here in this world, in this life. So even people feel like attracted to this. So while I was like getting more power, taking more power of who I was and my faith and my path and my beliefs, people were getting more like respectful with me and attract and nice. And they were asking things because they wanted those things. And the other day, one of my best friends told me, look, one thing that I admire about yourself is that you just arrived here being another one and being like rooted in something that here is considered really like weird. And you were so confident and you kept walking. And for me, it's like something that I want to try to do with myself, you know? And I was like, look, you do a difference, you know, like even if you are scared of no, because I was scared of losing all my friends. And even like I was telling my mom, am I never going to find a boyfriend or someone that wants to be with me even if I'm Catholic? Because they once told me like, you are not going to find anyone that is willing to like accept your religion. And I was like, well, I mean, if I have to hide one of the most beautiful things that I have, that is my faith, to someone to be accepted, then I don't want to, you know? So if you like wait and you are rooted on him and you keep walking with your own authenticity, the real things arrive to you too.
I wanted to say it's almost like with the authenticity, I find that people are very interested in it, and like how Yvette said, when they do ask questions, when I was younger, when I was like, you know, baby Christian, I would never bring it up because I was afraid of the questions. I was afraid of having to answer to something and then look crazy. So because, you know, it's kind of crazy to say, you know, I believe in God, the Father, the Almighty, maker of heaven and earth. But it's almost like after I finally realized that questioning spirit that they have, it isn't them, maybe it is them trying to ridicule, but if you treat them with kindness, and you answer their question to the best of your ability and you respect them and you're like, you know, that's actually a good question. Let's review it. Let's see what we can come up with from this. That doesn't just grow doesn't just grow your faith, it grows theirs. It's introducing them, it's, you know, showing them to the door which God has opened to them.
I think living authentically and living your authentic self really outwardly with confidence, I think it allows you to live with love over hate. Because I think if you're not confidently living your authentic self, you are boxing yourself in, or you're trying to be like someone else, and you're probably judging in the same way. So it's coming off really as like not kindness and hate, whereas like, yeah, like I'm just me and that's that, and I love you and accept you for who you are because I want to be loved and accepted for who I am. So I just think it allows for more love and more openness.
And I don't ever want to be the person who they do presume us to be, the one who's going to look at them in judgment, the one who's going to look at them in condemnation, the one who's going to look at them and say, you need to change, you need to do this. You know what I mean? I know that everyone in every time in every place has been that person at some point. But I don't want to be that person with my faith. Like, I want to be the person who has an open heart and like an open door to other perspectives, to other points of view. And you don't have to be me. You don't have to even believe in my God as long as you're somebody who is another human. I don't want to be that person who's going to stand off and be like, well, we can't be together. We can't come to any type of an agreement because, you know, you're that and I'm this. I think it just prevents unity. Whereas like to me, I'm like, be who you are.
Mm-hmm.
I want to add on to that saying, hate alone just causes more division. It's love that creates. That's a quote from Maximilian Kolbe. Stole that from him. But I also wanted to say that because in showing hate when people question you, it's showing that you're not looking to include them. You're not looking to unite. You're looking to divide. You're looking to be like, you're not one of us, go away. And that's not what I want to be. What I want to be is the one who creates the unity. I want to be the one who brings in the love, who shows the love. Because if there's one thing I know, is that in a struggle between good and evil, between this and that, between everything, love wins. It's love conquers all evil. And I find that you are never who you say they are. Or, you know.
Here's John Paul II.
That's not who you are. You're not the one who's boxed in like that. You're not the one who's just the hockey player. You're not the one who's just the boxer. You're not the one who's just this or that. You're not just the teacher. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What you are is you are a child of God. And maybe you include that things because that is part of what you do as a child of God. But the child of God, being in his kingdom, is your true identity.
Wow.
More.
They are going to judge anyway, so just keep walking.
Isn't that the truth?
I have this, there's just one story that I listened to. It was on Hallow. And it's Jeff Cavins. I don't know if I said this already on this podcast, but it was like he is like, Jeff Cavins is such an interesting guy to me. He's like this Christian evangelist, and he goes into like different places and he tries to be so open and receptive to like everyone else. And he was going into like there's a small Christian community that he hung out with frequently, and I could be messing this story up, but they would go into this bar and they would have some drinks and they would just talk and they would like be looking to like build each other up. And they walked into the bar one night, and one of the other members of the group had gotten a new boyfriend. And when they walked in, they saw that the boyfriend was like all tatted up, and it looked like it looked like he belonged to some type of a motorcycle club or something. And he said like everybody left the guy by himself. Like nobody would engage the guy because they were like, what is she doing with him? Like, why would she go with somebody who looks like that? Like, doesn't she know what he is? And he's like, he goes, and I looked at the guy and I was like, I want to know his story. So he's like, of course, I pulled up a stool, sat right next to him, and was like, so what's your story? And the guy was like, oh, and started to tell him his story and said how like he had like given up drugs and alcohol and like that whole entire way of life, because for him, he realized it was like pulling him down and he was like being controlled by it. And so he like gave that all away, but continued to have his love of motorcycles and riding and all of that. So he wanted to, because he found Jesus, he wanted to share Jesus with as many people as he can. And so he uses his old lifestyle to kind of complement his new lifestyle and just wants to merge them together. And it was like, Jeff was like, he's like, that man was probably the holiest man in that whole entire room. And I never want to be the Christian who's afraid to walk up to somebody else because they look different or they don't have the appearance of being what you're supposed to be. And I was so inspired by that.
Never judge a book by its cover. Just step out of line and go check the book out. You know what I mean?
And actually, I love that because I struggle with that a lot because I was like, I don't know if I look like the perfect Catholic, because I like reggaeton and I like to move my hips if I want. And I love to hang out and I love to have a glass of wine. And I was like, Catholic people do those things. Like, am I the perfect? Or if I go with, I don't know, with this kind of hoodie on the chair, is that they're going to like thought that I'm not like the perfect Catholic, and I was trying to be something that I don't even know how it looks like, and my priest told me like, what is the perfect Catholic and how you pray good? I don't have the answer of that. Like, I don't know how to pray correctly. Do you? He was like asking me those things, and he was like there's no like perfect in all those things, like your appearance, or like there's no like rules that make you like, they don't make you like better or worse than another one. Like what makes you Catholic is the love that you have for God, not the hoodie that you are wearing, not if you like to dance reggaeton or classical music. That doesn't make you Catholic. Catholic is like the love that you have for God. That's what makes you Catholic, And now that you were explaining the story, I watched the other day Mother Cabrini, the movie.
Oh, yes.
And I always think about you guys because Marisa, you sent me that story.
Yeah, it was her feast day yesterday.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it was that story was, got stuck in me. I don't know why. And then when I watched when I saw that the movie was released in Spain, I watched it. And I couldn't stop crying how much like I related to her. And she was all those things that we have been talking about it. Like the world was telling her no, but she kept walking because she wanted a yes.
Yes.
No matter what, everyone was like treating her like if she was like dumb and she was like an idiot or she didn't even know about the life or whatever. And she didn't care. She even like in the movie, she even stops the Pope the Pope of that time and says, look at me. No, I want this, and I know God wants me to do this, and I'm doing it no matter what. You can join me, you can help me, or you can go against me, but I'm not stopping, and like she did everything for like people consider that what she was doing was incorrectly, was bad. She was like going against all the rules, but guess what? She saved thousands of children. She changed a lot of laws for the poor people and for people who were like just abandoned and judged, and she went for all those all those people, and she helped them and she saved them actually, and it because all this story, it's because this woman that was so rooted on herself and so rooted on God and her faith, that she was so confident that even the Pope couldn't stop her.
No, he was literally converted by her and gave her said, this is where you're gonna go. Like she really spoke so fervently that he was like, all right, I'm in. Yeah, it was pretty powerful.
I can't wait to watch that movie. It's on my list.
So powerful.
I just want to bring
I
up.
cried a lot, and I was like, this is so crazy. But it was like a huge lesson of just like, when everyone is telling you no, just say yes, you know. And she did it, and she changed the world. Yes. Literally, we kept talking about her. Imagine.
We'll have to do an episode on Mother Cabrini one time because she is power.
Her. Love her, yeah.
I wanted to bring up Maximilian Kolbe again. And bring him back to that. That guy was also crazy. I mean, what he did was he went to Nagasaki and he built like this like little monastery place, and it was like around the time of World War II, and it was behind this mountain where pretty much no one could get to, and it was so isolated and everyone was so confused. And then sadly the bombs dropped. And what happened was it missed the monastery. The thing was perfectly fine. And what it allowed to happen was orphans were allowed in. So it welcomed the orphans. So it reached the front door of the monastery. And when the door swung open, the orphans were allowed in. So if it wasn't for that, who knows what could have happened. So thank God.
I love that.
And just see Jesus. Like Jesus, when he came to the earth, like he didn't follow the rules, And when everyone was trying to stop him, he didn't stop. He was just, following his beliefs, and thanks God that he did. But, he didn't come and teach us how to, follow the rules and follow the world and follow where it was just created and follow the things that were, considered correct or acceptable. He just went against all those things, and not in a bad way, just in a way of doing them better.
Yes.
Sometimes you need to go against the things that are considered acceptable just to make them better. And that's what actually he did. So the thing that he teaches was not just follow the crowd. Actually, it was just being yourself.
This was such a great episode, guys. I loved it.
I feel it.
Tiny miracle time?
Tiny miracle time.
Who's first?
I guess I'll go first. My tiny miracle is actually my sister-in-law. Kate has a giant miracle that they were doing a 1,000 coat giveaway that they do every single year. My school does it, and this year some of the people who normally help us out with that were not donating, and so we were really nervous that it wasn't going to happen. And Kate told me that she just prayed and prayed and prayed and was praying to Our Lady and asking for her intercession, and it ended up being that we didn't only have 1,000 coats or 2,000, but over 3,000 to give away. And so this not so tiny miracle is going to be my miracle of the week.
My tiny miracle, I guess, would be actually, I have two. It's going to Adoration twice this week, and then also getting to see Pop.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
I love that. My tiny miracle is that on Monday, I was using the Chromebook cart in my classroom this week, and they have to all be plugged in perfectly, and I plugged them all in at the end of the day, needing them for the next day. And when I plugged them in, 3 were lit up, then they were like going on and off. Like it was this wacky thing. And I said to my co-teacher, I'm like, we're going to come in on Wednesday morning and these are not going to be charged at all. And we'll have to figure it out. But opened the cart right up when I got in and all were perfectly charged. So that's my tiny miracle.
My tiny miracle is 1 month ago I was praying to God because I wanted to bring the chosen and Jesus, all these things to Catalonia, to my town. And I didn't know how to because I didn't know how to step in. And last week I had this huge meeting with the schools from Barcelona, presenting them the chosen and all the campaigns that we have for the kids, for bringing Jesus to them and all that. And after that, I'm running a big official event of Christmas with the Chosen in Barcelona. Just me and the bishops from Barcelona. I'm working with them to bring this event on December. And then the schools from Barcelona are texting me, asking me if I can go and do some activities using the Chosen, but helping them to bring Jesus to the kids because they think they are going to love me. And if I could go, they are talking with my boss, asking me if I can go once per month to the schools and bring Jesus to them, So I'm like running this huge event of Christmas with the bishop. And then they're asking me to go on. If I cannot go, I don't care because they already have the campaigns. I have communication with them and they are like super happy. So, and I prayed for this 1 month ago of, please Jesus, help me to just step in Catalonia and bring you to them. And look.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That is so.
I love that.
Me too. I'm so fired up for you. Wow.
Wow.
Jesus.
It's going to be
Jesus.
amazing.
Jesus.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
love it.
Whew. Thank you so much, guys, for listening. We'll see you next week.
And just remember, I saw you.
Go, Yvette. Just remember.
I will say, just remember to not look to the crowd and just look to the authenticity.
Amen.
Bye bye, French fries.
Bye, guys.
Bye.